Welcome back to the Motivated Mind Zone. Glad to have you here. Have you ever tried to describe your entire day to someone, only to find yourself um, repeating the same words, maybe pausing a lot, or just feeling completely stuck, even when you know the vocabulary? Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Imagine being put on the spot, right? Asked to recount your day in a language you're trying to master. That hesitation, the frustration, that feeling of, I know the words, but they're just not. They're not coming out automatically. It's a really common hurdle for so many of us on this fluency journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And that initial struggle, it isn't really a sign of failure at all. It's a pretty universal challenge that most language learners face, that jump from just understanding grammar rules to actually speaking spontaneously. So, this deep dive, it's really about unlocking why that happens. And maybe more importantly, exploring a really powerful approach to overcome it. It involves training your brain in a much more effective way. We're looking at how to make genuine fluency feel, achievable, not just some distant dream.
And today we're diving into some incredibly practical, sort of eye-opening insights from Emma. She's a language expert, taught thousands of students, something like 50 countries. She has this method, and she claims it can significantly transform how you speak English. And her approach, it's surprisingly simple,
Yeah.
but seems remarkably potent. She suggests that by the end of this discussion, you'll have a pretty clear path to talking about your entire day, fluently, confidently, and naturally. Emma really highlights how many learners feel stuck, repeating words, lacking that natural flow, even when they're just asked to speak for a couple of minutes. It's such a common experience, isn't it? Trying to bridge that gap from knowing the rules to, well, actually speaking without thinking so hard.
Hmm.
She points out that learners often try to tackle really complex stuff, business English, academic words, those tricky idioms, before they can even say confidently order food or tell someone new what they do for a living.
Right. And building on that, Emma's experience, like a decade of teaching, it led her to a really crucial insight. She found that the students who really mastered describing their daily routine, they were the ones who actually achieved fluency the fastest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it makes you ask why? Why is this specific foundation so critical? Her conclusion is pretty clear. Daily routine vocabulary isn't just another topic, it's actually the fundamental building block of all English conversation. Like she says, many learners are basically trying to build a house without a foundation.
That makes so much sense when you think about it. When you meet someone new, what are the first things you usually talk about?
Yeah,
Your work, maybe your family, your hobbies, essentially, your daily life, right?
exactly.
Job interviews often kick off with, tell me about yourself, which is basically asking about your life, your routine. Even a simple customer service call often needs you to explain your current daily experience or the
Mm-hmm.
problem you're having right now. These aren't like abstract academic debates. They're the practical, super high frequency interactions that make up most of our everyday communication. You're constantly using phrases about what you did, what you like, where you went.
And this perspective, it really shifts the focus away from just abstract grammar rules
Yeah.
and towards highly practical, high frequency language, stuff you actually use. It's all about building that solid foundation first before you try adding the more complex stuff, like the roof and windows of the house analogy.
Right.
You really can't comfortably order food or, chat about your weekend plans if you haven't automated those basic daily life sentence structures and words. So this method, it really empowers you with the core patterns and expressions that every fluent English speaker uses automatically without that pause to think.
Okay, and this next insight is, I think, particularly compelling. Emma brings up a key principle, one that often gets kind of overlooked in traditional English teaching. It's that your brain primarily learns languages through patterns, not by consciously applying rules.
Mm,
This means engaging a totally different part of your brain, moving beyond just passively understanding to active automatic production.
Yeah, and this really challenges a long-held assumption in language education, doesn't it? When you focus on memorizing grammar rules, conjugations, prepositions, tenses, you're using your slow, analytical brain.
The thinking part.
Exactly. The part that handles conscious thought, rule application, it makes you think about the language. But for fluency, for speaking smoothly, you need to train your fast automatic brain. That's the part responsible for subconscious, habitual stuff. It's the same part native speakers use, and it's inherently pattern based. It's really about letting your mouth muscles and your brain work together automatically, skipping that conscious analytical step.
So how do we actually train that fast automatic brain? This is where Emma introduces a technique called shadowing. She describes it as active training for your mouth, your ears, and your brain, which sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is.
And she uses this great analogy. Think of it like singing along to your favorite song.
Ah,
You don't wait for the song to finish to sing along, do you? You sing with the music at the same time. And that's exactly what shadowing is. Repeating everything the speaker says, right as they say it, without pausing.
that analogy works really well, I think, because it instantly clarifies how active the technique is. You're not just listening, then repeating later. You're echoing, mirroring the sound, the rhythm, the intonation as it happens, real time.
Right.
And this encourages a different kind of mental processing. It builds those specific neural pathways for automatic speech. Emma notes that, professional language researchers have a term for it, something like comprehensible input with active output.
Okay, sounds technical.
It does, but basically it just emphasizes the brain's need to actively produce language in real time. It's actually very similar to how a child naturally picks up their first language, lots of copying and repeating what they hear around them.
And Emma's advice for doing shadowing effectively seems pretty clear, too. Listen really intently to the voice. Try to feel the rhythm, notice the pauses, the tone changes, and then speak with it. And she says if you miss a word, don't stop. Just jump back in with the next word. Keep the flow going.
Persistence.
Yeah. And here's a detail I found quite liberating.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about being perfect or even about your accent. She reminds us native speakers make mistakes too, which is true.
Definitely.
It's really about training your mouth muscles and your brain to work together automatically, building that muscle memory for speech.
Which raises a practical question. Where can you actually do this? Do you need a quiet room? Emma really emphasizes comfort and flexibility here. She says you can basically do it anywhere.
Like while walking.
Yeah, walking, cooking, cleaning, exercising. She even suggests that engaging your body, like moving while you speak, can actually help your brain learn faster. It kind of integrates the language into your physical space as well as your mental space.
Interesting.
A lot of her students apparently do it while walking the dog, or doing dishes, or during their commute. It makes language learning feel more like an organic part of your daily life, not just another scheduled chore you have to fit in.
Okay, so to really show how to build this foundation, Emma actually models what she calls a perfect English day. Now, the point isn't to memorize every single detail of her specific day, obviously. It's more about understanding how you can embed English into every moment of your own life, turning that passive learning into active, kind of immersive practice. She walks us through a whole day, basically, from waking up right through to going to sleep, showing how every action, every thought, every interaction is an opportunity to practice speaking. So you can imagine her morning routine. She wakes up, brushes her teeth, makes coffee, and she's narrating it, maybe asking herself and you, the listener, what do you eat for breakfast? Then she gets ready for her commute. She's observing her surroundings, the people, the traffic, and using English to describe it all.
Actively narrating.
Exactly. Then at her work, maybe a community center, she interacts with students. She's teaching practical phrases like, how much is this? Or where is the milk? And she also reflects on her students, how brave they are learning English for job interviews or just to make friends. Then maybe her afternoon involves ordering lunch somewhere, narrating that process. Then a trip to the supermarket describing the produce aisle, the checkout.
Everyday stuff.
Totally. Later, maybe a coffee with a friend, turning that chat about hobbies or movies into practice. Evenings might be working on her Speak English Daily project, reading comments, planning videos. Then maybe a phone call with her mom, discussing family news, reassuring her, all in English. And finally, she plans her next day's schedule meetings, dentist lunch, yoga, and narrates that. And then winds down maybe with a gratitude journal, deep breaths, getting ready for bed. The real key takeaway from this whole hour-long immersion example she provides isn't just the words,
No, it's the context.
right? It's how she models these complete chunks of language, phrases and sentences embedded in real-life situations. It helps you internalize the rhythm, the natural flow of English in context, rather than just memorizing isolated vocabulary lists.
Yeah, what's really insightful there is how she demonstrates that these aren't just lists of words. They're truly functional, daily routine chunks. They really are the building blocks for pretty much all English conversation, and they're practiced within a natural, relatable context.
Makes sense.
So this whole approach helps learners move beyond just, identifying words to actually automatically producing coherent phrases, the kind of phrases that cover the vast majority of our daily interactions. It's about building a really robust, ready-to-use vocabulary for just living your everyday life in English.
Okay, then Emma introduces what she calls the really impactful part, or maybe the magic part. It's dedicated, focused practice of simple sentence patterns. And just for 10 minutes.
Only 10 minutes.
Yeah, she states pretty confidently that in these next 10 minutes, your mouth will literally transform.
Mm.
She emphasizes that this isn't just practice, it's crucial mouth muscle memory training.
Ah, that phrase again.
Exactly. The idea is once your muscles remember these patterns through consistent repetition, they become ingrained. Automatic recall.
And that emphasis on mouth muscle memory is so important, I think, because it directly addresses the physical side of speaking, which often gets forgotten. When you consistently repeat these patterns, your tongue, your lips, your jaw, they start to find the right positions automatically, almost without thinking.
Right.
It sort of bypasses that conscious analytical brain we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
and it directly trains that fast, automatic brain, making speech feel, well, more effortless and natural over time.
Okay, so what are these patterns? The first one is really foundational. I plus action plus object. Seems super basic, right? I eat breakfast, I drink coffee, I make dinner, I buy food. But the point is in the complexity, it's automating this core structure,
Mm.
getting it down so it's just there.
Yeah.
Immediate unthinking recall.
Precisely. It establishes that most fundamental subject-verb-object structure in English. By practicing these simple sentences immediately and repeatedly, you build that automatic recall. It lays down the groundwork, makes the core structure feel effortless, so you can then build more complex sentences on top of it later. It's about developing that immediate subconscious response.
Okay. Pattern 2 adds context. I plus action plus time place.
Yeah.
This lets you naturally expand what you're saying. I go to work. I come from school. I wake up early. I work in the morning. This pattern helps you integrate where you go and when you do things into your speech naturally.
Yeah, expanding on that, this pattern gives the learner the ability to locate actions in time and space. Really essential dimensions for telling any kind of story or just describing your day. It means you can express your daily movements, your schedule, without consciously having to think about the grammar rules involved. It significantly boosts the practical usefulness of your speech for everyday conversation, for storytelling.
And then the third pattern area tackles feelings and desires, using verbs like, need, want, and have. These patterns make the language instantly personal. I like coffee. I need sleep. I want happiness. I have friends. These are phrases all about you, your preferences, your state of being.
And that's key because it makes the language personal and highly functional right away. It lets learners express their internal world, their preferences, their needs.
Yeah.
It addresses that emotional and relational side of language, not just the purely mechanical aspect. It makes communication feel richer, more authentic right from the beginning.
Then Emma says the really engaging part, maybe the fun part, is mixing them all together.
Yeah.
Like, I eat breakfast, I drink coffee, I go to work. Simple combinations. Or I like coffee, I need water, I want food.
Connecting the patterns.
Exactly. This is apparently where your brain starts connecting the dots and really thinking in English automatically. Building fluency organically instead of mentally translating word by word. She also includes examples of daily schedule patterns, like combining time and action. I have breakfast in the morning, or I go to work every morning.
And that integration of patterns, mixing them up, that's really key to moving beyond just isolated sentences to actual fluid conversation.
All right.
It creates the mental pathways you need for spontaneous speech. It reinforces her core idea that when you can say these simple patterns automatically, you can basically say anything.
Wow.
Because you're not just learning words in isolation, you're building the neurological infrastructure, the mental plumbing for natural flowing dialogue, speech that feels less like a chore and more like just, well, speaking.
So, okay, bringing it all together,
Hmm.
what does this all mean for you, the listener? It really suggests that achieving genuine English fluency isn't necessarily about memorizing endless lists of isolated grammar rules. It's much more about training your brain and your mouth muscles through consistent active practice, and specifically practicing the language you actually use every single day, your routine.
Hmm.
It's about building that unshakable foundation from the ground up, making the core language automatic.
Yeah, this whole approach really underscores that English isn't just grammar and vocabulary lists locked away in a textbook.
Yeah.
It's a living language. It's a powerful tool for connection. It's a bridge to the wider world.
Right.
And communication, actually connecting with people rather than some impossible standard of perfection, that's the ultimate goal here. Every single time you engage in this kind of active practice, shadowing or pattern repetition, you become a little more confident, a little more natural. You build real momentum.
Emma encourages us to try something simple, like maybe tonight, just try to think in English about your day as you're winding down. Or maybe tomorrow morning, just greet yourself in English in the mirror. Small things. But what if those small, consistent actions, that little bit of daily mouth muscle memory training, what if that's the real secret, the secret to unlocking a whole world of new connections, new opportunities, and just profound confidence in your ability to speak English?
It really raises an important question for you, doesn't it? How can you start living in English just a little bit, starting today? Perhaps that very first step is simply noticing those routine moments in your day, making coffee, commuting, eating lunch, and consciously trying to narrate them, even if it's just silently in your head in English. Because every single instance of practice strengthens those pathways. Imagine the doors that could open if you dedicated just a little bit of time each day consistently to building that solid automatic foundation. The journey to fluency, it really is built one conscious, consistent practice moment at a time. It's an inspiring way to think about it.